Welcome to Local Business Spotlight, the podcast designed to empower our community one small business at a time. This series is brought to you by My San Diego North County and Cypher Studios. Today's show is hosted by Shane Mitchell and David Zamaya.
I am your host, Shane Mitchell, and joining me as always is my co-host, David Zamaya. How are you doing today, David?
I'm doing fantastic. Thanks for having us here today.
Excellent. And we have a special guest with us today, Blanca Rincon. She is the CEO of Apex 365 Workforce Solutions based in Carlsbad, California. How are you doing today, Blanca?
Doing well. Thank you for having me.
Hey, Blanca, so thank you for being here with us. How are you feeling today?
I'm feeling fantastic. How are you guys doing?
We're
nervous.
We're having the time of our life. I mean, I feel like I'm being interviewed by an HR manager. Oh, wait, but you are an HR manager.
I am an HR. Yes, correct.
Well, you got to tell you, man, we've known each other for quite some time, but HR, that's got to be the worst business for me to be in, but you excel in it, right?
I wouldn't consider it the worst business to be in.
Well, for me, I just can't handle HR. I mean, I always make sure we have somebody like yourself, a professional that knows what they're doing to offset my ability not to know as much as you do.
I think that everybody excels, right, in what they actually develop themselves in. So, I mean, you do great in what you do, right?
Yeah.
And I do great in what I do, which it's HR.
That's fantastic. I know I worked at a bank for around 10 years, and I had that HR manager or HR consult or HR resources on speed dial because every once in a while something would just come up. I don't know how to handle this, so I go to our HR. So how do you do this? Because you're not in-house HR for somebody, are you? Or how do you work? You're consulting?
So we are a consulting company. We are technically the back office of a company. So you could be a small, medium, or large company, and you need help. And that's when we come in.
So it's like a remote HR
We could be remote. We could be on site.
Oh, so you do on
So
site.
you take over the whole HR department essentially for a company that maybe doesn't have the capability of setting up their own department?
Sometimes we don't. Sometimes we work directly with the HR companies that they work. For example, if they have an HR in-house, we work directly with the HR individual that works for that company.
Okay.
So you work like a coach almost with that HR person that's in there.
Sometimes, yes. We're there to be an additional resource for that individual that's working with the company, for that employee.
For compliance and all that.
Correct.
That stuff.
Yeah, most people think that HR is just to hire or fire people.
Yeah.
Not really. There's a lot of things that HR does. HR is just a name for an umbrella, and there's a lot of things that you need to know when you're in HR. So for example, hiring and firing is very important, but also laws, regulations, wage and hour, Department of Labor laws.
Which are always changing.
Which are always changing. And sometimes they change for the best, right? With times, like for example, we're going through this pandemic, and it's important to make changes in laws right now at this point in time.
Right.
So during the pandemic, did you have more work or did it stay the same? I mean, because right now everybody's working from home. I mean, I can imagine that's an HR nightmare. How do you manage people when they're not even in your office, right?
So HR is, you're always on call, right? And with the pandemic, we worked more. We have to guide our clients in what they have to do. Unfortunately, not even the state knew what we had to do. Therefore, we were all trying to figure it out.
I was going to say there's probably a lot of new situations that have never been heard of because the whole remote workforce is a newer concept with everybody.
Correct. So that helped us learn how to do everything paperless and remotely. So it was a benefit, right? It taught me and the companies out there, not only Apex, but all the companies out there, how to be more proactive and how to be able to work from an actual, from either using our resources, which is like, any type of social media or using any type of web. Right, I'm not going to say any names, but you can use many of those out there. I'm sorry, I was trying to figure one out, but I couldn't. Using the web is important, so doing all those conference calls online. And we also were able to, bring in more resources and tools like doing everything with systems. So now we're very system oriented.
Right. There's got to be a lot of, new technology in your realm that you've either had to modify to make work or is there, new softwares that have come out that have really helped you out?
Both. I think we had things already existent, and we had to, just get somebody to come in, make them work the way we needed them to make work. And then the other way was that we had no clue what we were going to do. So we brought somebody in from out, somebody that had the capability and knowledge to create something for us.
Oh, okay.
So I got to go back. So, I mean, how long you been doing HR now?
for a little bit over 25 years.
And what was your first start in HR?
I was really young, and it started with a volunteering situation. And then from there, I went and worked for a restaurant. And the restaurant started making me the HR liaison. So then I think I just fell into this role.
Fell into it, but you did discovered a passion for it, I'm assuming.
I was so good in what I did that I just went with that. And for me, it was a blessing because I'm pretty successful in it.
Excellent.
And then at what point did you say, well, I'm just going to start my own business?
So, after working with a lot of companies and identifying a lot of deficiencies, as a person, you start identifying what would you do for that company. But sometimes companies tend not to want to listen. So I said, you know what? Maybe that company doesn't want to listen, but I could get myself, build my own name, a reputation, and help others that do want to listen. And that's when it started in 2005.
Wow.
What made you choose San Diego?
So I started in LA, actually.
Oh, really?
Yes. I'm an LA girl, but when I married, I moved to San Diego.
Oh, okay.
Well, welcome to America's greatest.
I think a lot of people in San Diego are here because of marriage or military.
Correct.
Or both.
Well, I got here out of birth.
I love it.
Same here. But I was born on a military base.
Okay, there you go. I was born at Mercy Hospital. I haven't looked back, so here we go. So you're passionate about what you're doing. And now, if there's other businesses out there that want to start a company, I mean, what advice do you have for somebody that whatever decision they make, where's that aha moment that, hey, I think it's time for me to start my business. What should I do?
So I think that first you have to analyze, right? You have to put a plan in action. I think that waking up in the morning and having a dream, it's a very nice thing. But actually, you need to be able to plan things out. And, you start with a goal. You write it down, you analyze it. What do you want to do? And where do you see yourself in the next 2 to 5 years? And then you have to start looking also at your resources. I know a lot of people say you don't need money to start a business, but that's one of the resources you do need.
You do.
It does help a lot.
It does help a lot. Let me tell you that one. So it's important for you to start organizing your thoughts and putting it in writing. And then, step out of it, like create your action plan, and then take a step back, see where your life is at this time, right? And what do you need to do in life? Like, what is your objective? Why do you want to actually build this, brand new business? Or why would you want to be a business entrepreneur? And then just start researching. I think that if somebody wants to start a business, it is important for you to go work for an employer that takes that type of you need to work for somebody that does what you want to do in order for you to get your feet wet, right?
Get some experience.
Exactly. You need to be experienced in what you do. I'm like, you could go volunteer, you could go, or just get something that pays less as soon as you get your foot in the door, and then learn. And then maybe sometimes you think this is not really what I wanted to do. I have a lot of people that will come into HR and then they regret it. And they're like, you know what? I think that this is not for me. But I've been here for 6-7 years, and I think that I can't go back. So if I would have known what I know now, this was not for me, I would have done something different. So I believe that if you already been in with an employer and you think that you would like to start something similar to what you've been working in, and you have everything set, you have a plan in action, you know where you're going, if you need employees, what you need to do to get you there, I think it's a good idea. But if you don't know, you just wake up in the morning and say, today I'm going to start a business, I think it's time for you to pause and think about things.
Do some cross training, maybe, do some, even if you're, currently already at an employer and they have a position that's full, that is doing what you want to do, maybe just, get some tutelage under that person. And
that's actually a really good thing to say, because when I started as human resources, it was all about getting people onboarded, right? The paperwork, making sure everything was done properly. But then I transitioned to benefits, right? What is actual benefits? Medical, dental, vision. Then I transitioned into the insurance world within the company. So the general liabilities, the workers' compensation. What is a premium? How is it rated? And then I transitioned to safety and risk management. So I was able to transition to those realms and see. And then in the end, I was part of payroll. So you're able to see the whole HR umbrella, and you're like, okay, maybe I don't want to be a human resources, but I want to do payroll. Or maybe I don't want to do payroll, but I want to sell benefits. Or maybe I don't want to sell benefits. I want to be an insurance broker. and help with workers' compensation, or it depends what you want to do. But I think that human resources is just a very broad term, right? That people use. Oh, you're in HR. Oh, you hire and fire people. Nobody likes you. Well, that's not exactly right. We do a lot of good things as well, right? We help employees through tough times, right? Sometimes, people get into situations, we get ill or something does happen. And, as an HR, you're there to provide people with resources, right? They need a leave of absence. Their parents got sick, or they have a child, or they adopted a child. And this is where we're there to guide the employee and let them know what their benefits are. How can they transition? How can they make things happen without hurting themselves or their family?
Right.
So you bring a lot of resources to helping out those employees. And out of all those experiences that you had, what's one of your biggest successes that you like out of it?
So I think that what we do is helping people. It doesn't matter if you're the employer or you're the employee. We're there to help you grow. As an individual, as a business, as a professional, our objective is to take you where you want to be. So we get a customer or an employee currently where they're at, and we tell them, where would you like to be? Where do you see yourself? And then we take them there, right? We are the ones that get everything in writing. We do that action plan. We do the discovery, we put everything in action, and then we just roll it out. And then in the end, I'm like, it's up to us to get everything done, but it's up to the employee or the employer to make things happen.
So you got a happy customer when all that's just seamless and everything flowed perfectly then.
Correct, but with anything, right? There's hiccups around the way. You're dealing with people, right? And sometimes what I think it's correct for others, it's not, or vice versa. So I don't consider it challenging. I just think that we need to think how we make decisions, and we need to just learn to appreciate people's opinions.
So if you had your choice, now I'll go ahead and take you back on this little question here. So you've been doing HR for quite some time. If you had your choice and what else would you be doing except for HR?
I love to cook.
Yeah.
So I told my husband that if one day I retire young, I want to go and get some professional culinary.
Go to culinary school?
Of course, yeah, I would love to and learn, because I could get into the kitchen and I'll make a mess and I'll just throw stuff in the pots and I'll get pans, and some things are really tasty and some are like, okay, forget about this one. You shouldn't have touched that
We're
one.
ordering in tonight.
Exactly. But that's one thing that I'm like, I never cooked until I was in my early 20s, but then I discovered that I was pretty good at it. And it's something I do enjoy, getting home and cooking a nice, homemade meal.
Yeah.
So what's the favorite meal that you make?
I can make anything. I can make from a nice spaghetti to a chile relleno. It depends whatever you like, or just a basic carne asada.
So then in 10, 15 years, we're going to bring you back on this podcast and talk about your business starting up as a chef?
I don't know if I want to do a business. I just know that I want to learn about it. I just want to do it for me, as a satisfaction. This is something that I want to do for Blanca.
Yeah. I was going to say, going back, back when you started and stuff like that, when you started becoming an entrepreneur and starting your business, stuff like that, did you, maybe stumble a few times, go in a direction and then have to redirect? You have any...
Stumbled? What is that?
Yeah, she's been perfect the whole time, right, Blanca?
I think we all have challenges in life, right? And
Yeah.
I think if we didn't have challenges, we wouldn't learn from it.
Exactly.
So I think that I wouldn't change anything I've had done in the past or any struggles that I've been through, because that has made me who I am now. It has taught me what to do and what not to do. So we just have to, I tell people sometimes, we will have those moments where we break down and we're like, we shouldn't have done it. Why did we do this? I'm like, I regret it. I don't regret it. It's made me who I am. And you just have to look back and say, you know what? I did something and it was incorrectly done. What can I do now so that this won't happen again? So I think that that's been pretty good in my path. I think that some people see it as failures. I don't. I think that you can never fail if you continue to try to get to your end goal.
Well, the only real failure is actually when you quit.
Correct. Okay. And that word should not exist, right? Mm-hmm. You should never think about quitting. Maybe changing, the strategy you've been using, because eventually sometimes
pivot, change course.
Pivot.
Sometimes you think, I'm going to continue this path, but it's not working. So maybe it's time for you to sit down, ask people for opinions, right? Sometimes people tend to not want to hear feedback, right? Or you ask your clients or your friends, what do you think? And they're like, well, you're doing good. Well, that's not what I want to hear, right? Where do you see that we could improve? I'm not saying that I'm doing something incorrectly or that our company is doing something incorrectly, but if you had an option, and sometimes I'll ask this question, if you had a magic wand, what would you like to see different? And this is where they're like, oh, really? Okay, well, this is what I would like. And it gives me an idea, okay, maybe we could change this or modify it, right? It's not a complete change. It's just a small modification that we could do to take the customer to the next level or even our company in growth. I'm like, I think that the pandemic was a really difficult time and it was a bad situation for the whole world. This is not only a state or a city or a country.
Right.
You know, everyone was in the same situation. But I think that it made us think a lot of stuff, right?
Yeah.
Personal and professional. And some of us were able to just, you know, we cried it off and we shook it off and get back up and let's go. There's no time to fail or think about it. You just got to make it happen. And unfortunately, you know, some people did have to like let their businesses go. But I think that even though that those individuals lost their business, they were able to get back up and do something different. I was just talking today morning to a young lady that had opened up a restaurant. And in the middle of the pandemic, they opened up in January and in March, they closed down.
Wow.
And they got a couple grants and they were able to deliver 500 meals a day.
Wow.
And I was like, look at the success, like from thinking that you are completely out of business to getting this contract with the state. And then you got all these loans and now you're delivering 500 meals a day, helping everybody out there out.
Right.
Right. So you made a difference, right? There were people that couldn't come out because they were really sick.
Yeah.
And, you know, their life could be jeopardized. So they were doing that. They were delivering that hot meal to that individual. So it's
awesome.
Amazing, right?
Yeah. So again, you're in the studio here at Cypher Studios with the local business spotlight brought to you by Cypher Studios in my San Diego, North County. I'm your host, Shane Mitchell, along with my co-host, David Zumaya, and our special guest today, Blanca Rincon. So Blanca, when did you start your company?
In 2005.
2005. So you've been around for a couple days.
Just a few.
So, if somebody else was to start a company right now, what's your biggest advice you have for somebody doing a startup right now, a solopreneur or even a storefront, something like that?
Have your thoughts, you know, and have a business plan. Create a business plan first. Have an action plan. Write everything down. I think that it's important for you to focus and have your goals written. And, you know, before you launch anything, look at every aspect of the business. If you're going to be a home-based office, if you're going to open up, a business that you're going to rent, there's a lot of things that, you know, if you sell something, it's different than if you provide a service, right?
Right.
Do you need to have inventory? I'm like, we don't have inventory. We just have personnel, right? So there's a lot of companies that how much money do you need to invest up front to be able to profit? Is there a cost if there is a profit margin? How big is your profit margin? Or are you just going to be working to work? Where are you
Are
located?
you creating a business or are you just going to be self-employed?
Exactly. So where are you located? Is that an actual need in your community or do you have to transition somewhere else? So it's important. I think that sometimes I know a lot of people say a financial advisor, they charge too much. Well, sometimes financial advisors don't charge. They just want to hear your story. And sometimes they have advice for you and what to do and what not to do. So you don't have to be a millionaire to start a business, but you do need to have common sense and be able to get resources. And there's a lot of people out there. I mean, like I know David Samaya. David, you could call him up and ask him a question. If he doesn't have the answer, he'll connect you with someone.
Right.
So it's important for you to know your audience, you know your people, who you're working with, who you're talking to, who are your friends. Also, I believe that if you get involved in a lot of community events, there's a lot of chambers out there, right? That they're involved with the community and they know a lot of business owners, right?
Yeah.
So when you know business owners tend to give you ideas and tend to help you out.
Yeah.
So it's important for you to socialize with people that have been through these paths before you go through them.
Right.
Do you ever go back and look at your business plan from when you first wrote it?
Absolutely. I look at it every single time.
So, you're pretty successful in what you do. What do you have any ideas or thoughts that were like keys to your success?
I think that number one thing is always do what's right, right? No matter I mean, you have to have morals and integrity out there. If you do something incorrect and you know you're doing it incorrectly, it's going to come back. I don't like to regret things. So if I see I shouldn't do something, I'll bring it up to the client and I'll let them know that that's the incorrect thing. If somebody wants to do something and it's not the proper way to do it, I just take a step back and then that's not for me. I think that as an individual, you have to think that there's consequences because they are. And you have to make sure that you do the right things at the right time. Right? Sometimes you can make a mistake and you can go back and you can fix it. But mistakes sometimes could have consequences.
Right.
Now, I'm pretty sure you have lots of customers. What is your advice for somebody starting a business at how to find a customer out there?
Well, it's easy. I'm like, first of all, you need to socialize, right? You need to you need to be involved with your community. A lot of people want to get customers through the internet, and it's important for you to set up your SEOs and have a presence in the internet. It's amazing. Facebook, YouTube. I'm like, look at us right now sitting down, right? But I think that if you go into your community and you reach out to your local chamber of commerce, right? Yeah. Reach out, see what they're doing. I know that Carlsbad is having a fair, right?
Right.
And it's coming up, I believe, next weekend, Sunday, right? Yeah. So you're going to meet tons of businesses, businesses that have been just started and businesses that have been there forever and businesses that got hit really bad with the pandemic. So you're there to help them out, but also to learn. Yeah. So I think that it's more important for you to listen to people, listen to their stories, allow them to tell you their successes, allow them to tell you their challenges. Don't speak, just listen. Listen and absorb. I think that's the best thing that I've learned. If I listen to people and I analyze that, then I'm able to be better.
Awesome.
So what's your favorite part of your job?
I think that the favorite part is helping others. I think that it just makes me feel good, right? When something happens and I'm able to assist. And I'm like, it's a beautiful feeling as an individual where you're like, thank God this went through the way we planned it, right? There's sometimes in life that you just try to do the best things, but unfortunately, as much as you try, then you just can't fix it. But helping others is the best part.
Yeah. When I always feel like, especially with what I do, like helping, teaching, trying to give back in some way, it's always more rewarding than the monetary reward. It's always,
gratifying
words. I didn't want to say gratification because that doesn't sound good to me, yeah. But it always, more rewarding.
Well, it's just like what I do. I mean, there's a couple business groups out there, just, as service above self.
Yeah.
Giving givers gain. I mean, the more you're out there impacting the community in one way or the other, building those relationships like Blanca saying, yeah. The more it's going to come back to you somehow. I mean, that's how I met Blanca. I mean, I met her at a Chamber of Commerce event and, here we are 5-6 years later and, we're networking together. I'm introducing her to some leads and we're having some good time with it.
Yeah. The whole point.
So that's how we do it.
Yeah. So, that's our time for today, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Again, this is the Local Business Spotlight brought to you by Cypher Studios in my San Diego, North County with our special guest, Blanca Rincon.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
All right. It's a blessing.
Thanks for listening to the Local Business Spotlight. Come back soon for more stories, insights, and updates from inspiring local businesses.